Hello guys, welcome to Alasdair Aquatics. Hope you're keeping well. In today's video it's going to be something a bit different to my usual content. I know that recently I've been posting a lot about aquascapes and my nano reef aquarium. I also have this aquarium. This is what I call my quote-unquote fish tank. This is a tank where it's mainly focused on the fish rather than the aquascape. It's focused on the fish and their fantastic behaviour. For those of you that have not heard of these fish before, they're a shell dweller from Lake Tanganyika. They are a cichlid. They're considered one of the world's smallest cichlids. These are known as multis, and their Latin name is Neolamprologus multifasciatus. Really beautiful little fish, and the ones you see swimming around on screen here are mostly fully grown. I've had these guys for a few years now, and the largest males are only around 2 centimeters or so. Really are a tiny fish. Quite stunning to look at, and their setup's quite different to most other aquariums you'd see. They rearrange the sand how they like, and the shells you see are escargot shells that I got from the supermarket, but essentially snail shells, and these fish will dart into the shells to seek shelter if they feel threatened. So yeah, some really interesting characteristics and behaviours that you see from these fish, and if you've never kept cichlids before, I think they're a great entry point. The tank you see is a 60 centimetre tank. One thing to bear in mind with these guys is they prefer a lot of floor space compared to height. Obviously they spend a lot of time quite close to the shells, so that's something to consider and keep in mind if you're planning on keeping these guys. Now, if you have a look on screen, you will see some plants. There's a couple of floating plants, some Alasdair and a bit of Bucephalandra. Admittedly, the plants aren't doing too great. These fish can be quite rough. They will literally just pick up plants and move them if they don't like them. But I think the sort of beautiful characteristics, like the stripes you see on their bodies and their really interesting behaviour, definitely makes up for the slight difficulties they can pose if you're someone like me who's into aquascaping. So I think, if I'm honest, it's best to let these guys do what they want to do. They're going to make sand ripples, they're going to move shells around, and they're going to kind of take control of their own environment. It's what they do in nature, and it's fantastic to watch. It's really great. They'll pick up sand with their mouths and spit it out and form these piles, which is really interesting to see. The other really cool thing, it's kind of a good update I've got about this tank, is the fish are breeding. If you have a look in the middle of the screen now, just behind that main shell, there you go, you'll just see a little fry swimming around. So these guys are prolific breeders. They're the guppies of the cichlid world, in my opinion. There's multiple pairs breeding in this aquarium, and they're what I'd call a colony fish. So they don't really tend to go after the young. So you'll end up with multi-generations in one tank. The kind of older fish will look after the younger fish and so forth. They have this kind of colony mentality, which is really nice to see. It's similar actually to Neolamprologus brashadi, another Tanganyikan cichlid I've kept in the past, that also have this colony mentality, and I find it really fantastic because you end up with multi-generations, grandparents, I guess you could say, in the same tank, and really fun to watch. But something to bear in mind, these guys will eventually start to overstock their tank, and it's something that's started to happen here. So in the future I'll be looking to rehome some of these guys just to keep the numbers in check. But yeah, really interesting fish, and if you've never kept cichlids before, I'd say these are a pretty good option. Make sure you've got a well cycled tank, make sure you've got adequate filtration, a heater, so they want the water to be around 78-80 Fahrenheit. And they prefer harder water, so a slightly higher GH, slightly higher KH. Consider buffing your water if it is on the kind of softer side, as that's what the water parameters are like in Lake Tanganyika itself. And again, I'd stress the fact that because these guys are shell dwellers, they spend a lot of time near the substrate. A longer tank with a larger footprint area is going to be far better for them than, say, a smaller tank that's taller, if that makes sense. So go for as much floor area as you can give them, but bear in mind, they are very small. So a 2-foot tank can be quite a good sort of starting off tank size for a small colony, but bear in mind that in the future, as they breed, you may need to consider upgrading or possibly rehoming some of them. But they're a fantastic fish. I'd seriously consider giving them a go if you've never kept cichlids before. They're one of my own personal first goes at keeping African cichlids, and I've really enjoyed keeping them. Fantastic little fish, such great personalities, and sometimes it's lovely to take a step back in this hobby rather than focus on the aquascape and having this natural, beautiful planted aquarium, which no doubt has its place and people do enjoy that, but sometimes it's nice to go back to the kind of bare bones of focusing on the fish themselves and their really interesting behaviour. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed making it. I have these guys on my desk and I find them fascinating to watch. So take it easy guys. If you've enjoyed this, hit a like, leave a comment, let me know if you've kept these guys before. Don't forget to subscribe, and as always, make sure you take some time to relax and enjoy your aquarium. After all, that's what it's there for. Alright guys, take care.